All right. Good afternoon. I'm Felicia Rateliff, and I'm with What If 360. We're having our weekly What If Wednesday live broadcast, and today we have Zack Jones, and he is an entrepreneur who left his job. Well, you can say hi first. Say
Hey
hi,
everyone, I'm Zach.
Zack. So, so Zach was with us and spoke in Las Vegas at our What If event there, and he has some really cool stuff to talk about. He is an entrepreneur who quit school, dropped out of college, didn't you?
Yep.
And to start a business at 19 years old, and has been doing that ever since, and is way into tiny houses. His business is Project Wosho, and he's going to talk to us today with a what if question that is, what if we only use a fraction of the things we pay for? So,
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. It's cool to be on this different kind of venue than before and chat a little bit. Yeah, this is it's a really important question for me. Being working on with the tiny houses as a company, a lot of the people who call us and ask us about downsizing, that's their first question, right? They all say, well, Zach, if I'm going to move to this home, how hard is it going to be for me to downsize? And a lot of people have suggested that I tell them to put, you know, look at what's in your closet and see if you can fit it into maybe 2 or 3 plastic bins. And those things are good exercise. But what I've found is that we sort of live a almost downsized life already if we really pay attention. So my question is, what if we only use a fraction of what we paid for? Now, when I first got into tiny houses, the downsizing part was something I was nervous about. I had stuff, and I wanted to live the lifestyle that I was seeing, but I was really scared to get rid of my stuff. I guess it was around 2012. I made a move from my hometown in Danville, Virginia, and I moved to Black Mountain, North Carolina. It's a fun story. I was going to an alternative education place called Black Mountain Soul to work on my business. And as I packed my car with my belongings, I expected to make 2 trips, 3 trips maybe, or have friends have to help me move things. And I found that the stuff that was really important to me all filled in my little 1996
Mm-hmm.
Honda Civic. It was fantastic. So we pay for a lot of stuff, and we end up thinking that those things we have responsibility for, or we have to live around those things. And I want to put the question out there to everyone. You know, if you really look at what you do every day, and what you really spend time with, and what you really use, how much have you bought that you're not using? How much is it just kind of sitting around, right? We all have that piece of clothing that we only wear if everything else is dirty, right? You know what I'm talking about? That one
Yeah,
shirt, like,
absolutely. I think I see it all the time because I work. This is my home office, so I have all these stacks of clothes. But every day I wear like the same black T-shirt and the same pair of jeans and the same jacket every day.
yeah, yeah. People know me as the guy with the red flannel or the blue shirt, right? And my friends literally be like, how many shirts do you own? You know, and I literally only work with maybe 6 shirts. I've got 2 pair of pants I like, um, and it's really easy for us to start gathering things that we think we may need in the future. Oh, I may need this one day, or I might use this a few times. I remember before I got in tiny houses, I worked at Radio Shack. I was going to college, and I remember spending loads of money on stupid stuff. I remember one day I got my paycheck, and I was like, what am I going to do with this today? I'm going to put it in the bank. I think I'm going to buy some Nerf guns. And I went out and bought Nerf guns, and I had them. I was happy that I had Nerf guns for like 3 days. I was showing my friends. We would all joke because I was like 18 or 19 at the time. And after that, they just sat in the trunk of my car, right? And I think we do that with a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we buy and we own, and when we purchase it, we're like, this is what I love, this is what I want, and then we never use it. But more so, I also want to dig in with the question a little bit past things, too, because there was a study that came out, I believe, this summer about people in their homes, and they did a study doing this. They did a survey of where the person walked in their home and how much time they spent in each area of each room, and it showed that people only use a very small fraction of their home anyway. So, for example, I'm currently in the whole home is roughly 2,000 square feet, but I have a top floor to myself, and it's about 1,400 square feet, and I probably use 400 to 500 of that square feet and the square footage. And it's something I would have never paid attention to before. But now that I've been working with tiny houses, I really pay attention to where I go. And if I could paint a walkway where I'd go every day, it'd be the same thing. My room is way too big for what I use. I literally go to my bedroom to sleep. So I just need room for my queen size bed, right? Of course, I've got some storage for clothes in there in a closet, but the room is just way too big for what's going on. It's a lot of waste. And then I have this room I'm in now. It's like a living room office, and the only spot I come to is this spot I'm sitting in right now, which is about a fourth of the room. So we spend a lot of money on making the rooms bigger. And then once the rooms are here, we have to fill them up with things because they're empty. And so people ask me, what am I going to do to downsize? And I could walk people through what you could do, but my first question is what if you've already almost there, right? Like, what if you're already downsized and it just looks big because you have a bunch of stuff you don't use, So it's a different angle, and a lot of the folks I've talked to, I'll tell them this, and at first they'll say, dude, I use all of my space. Like, I have this huge closet, and there's so much clothes in it, and I go in every day, and I go through my clothes, and I almost wear everything I own. And then a few days later, we'll have the conversation. It's like, okay, you've thought about it, haven't you? How much space do you really use? So that's it, right?
So you just said something so huge to me, and I'm going to sound so like new age hippie with it, but it really struck me is that what you said was people have already, a lot of times, already downsized, but they have big spaces, and so they have to have stuff to fill it up. Yes. And that is huge to me because that's actually kind of a personal mental thing, really. You downsize, you have to fill things up for yourself because you have to fill up your life with things, with stuff.
Yeah.
Or you feel, and so if you downsize your life, that's the fear. I don't think it's really the idea of living in a small space. It's the idea of, like, if I don't have all this stuff around me and all this space around me and all these things around me, what the hell am I going to fill up my life with? And it's scary.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's a whole new way to look at it, isn't it?
Well, I think about it for myself. I don't want to make it about me, but I just keep thinking, I did move a year and a half ago from a 3,000 square foot home to a duplex with just half the size. So I got rid of a lot of things that I really didn't even, after I was done, I'm like, man, I didn't even know I had some of this crap, And then I moved, and then I thought, I haven't missed any of that stuff at all. And actually, because I moved into a smaller space, I have so much more time for things that are, intangible things, like things to do, like ride my bike and go places, because I don't have to take so much time taking care of all that stuff. So it was huge for me. It's like it changed myself, and not just like my living space. It changed me.
It's interesting because it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, downsizing, when someone asks me, like, what is the benefit of downsizing, it all comes down to time. And a lot of people will say, there's freedom, there's financial stuff, but when you dig down, what does all that matter? And it comes down to time. People want to have time to do something other than work. And you just said, like, once you got rid of your stuff, your benefit was, like, you had time and you had to worry about taking care of your stuff, right? So you got two things, this, like, easy comfort of, I'm going to go buy something, and then this other comfort that's a little bit hard to get to because we're scared of losing this one, which is I can have all this time. I've talked to people who've moved into tiny houses who have inventories of what they have. They say, I have 251 things, and I can tell you how many forks I have, how many knives I have, what shirts I own, everything down to the book, right? And I asked them, well, what do you do? What do you do for a living, and how do you pay for your bills? And one woman actually said, I spend maybe 10 or 15 hours a week in a garden growing tomatoes, and the rest of my life is I live it. I actually live it. And so, that's something that we grow up. At 5 years old, we go to school. You think, well, what is school for? It's for education, sure, but really, what it's for, it's to train us to work these careers, right? To work 40 hours a week to pay the bills for all the stuff we have. And that woman who only works 15 hours a week in a garden, wow, did she? What? It just opens up so much for us. Like,
Mm-hmm. It's such
it's
a status
almost
thing, though. I mean, like you said, we're taught from small that that is what makes you successful. If you have an
right,
education and you have a job, a good enough job that you can buy a big house and then you can fill it full of stuff and then you can spend your weekends raking your yard and fixing your roof and being a slave to your home, which I was for many years because I had kids and I had the whole, house and kids and all that stuff that we're supposed to have. And
right,
then when I decided, you know what, I want to have my own business like I've always wanted, I had to really look at all that and like, do I really need all this? And what am I doing? Because I keep saying I don't have time to start a business. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I'd have plenty of time if I didn't have to take care of all those things. But there's that stigma of
right.
you're 42 years old and you're living in a small little place and you're working 30 hours a week doing something that's not, what you got your MBA for. I mean, that's not successful.
Yeah. So, it, I think it's something we're starting to pay more attention to. I remember growing up and going through high school, and everyone said the right path was college, right? And I can say a lot about college because education is a whole other conversation, but
Yes.
I think we can all relate. But it's now we're starting to realize that maybe that's not quite right. And luckily, people are acting on it and building these tiny houses and trying to find out what is the right answer. And I talked to a guy, actually, he was on the radio show I was on earlier this week, and he said his goal in life was to be poor and happy. And I thought that was fantastic. Now, I don't think everyone's goal should be to shoot for poor, but be as happy as possible without killing yourself at a job and depending on the dollar to make you happy is just a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not quite the social norm, but I think it's changing. We're sitting and having this conversation, right? So I think there's a lot of people out there seeing that and moving towards, what makes them happy is spending time with their family, or the things that entrepreneurs do. We get really excited about starting something new. That's what makes us happy, and that's hard to do when you have to work 40 hours a week to pay for your stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. So what do you say, though? I mean, let me put you on the spot a little bit. To the
Sure.
people who are the diehard, I'm a homeowner because it is an investment and it is, and it's something that appreciates. And at the end of my life, I will have something that I own and I'll have land. And this is important for the economy and important for my community, myself. And what do you say to those people about the people who just say, screw that. I don't have to own things. I can have a little tiny place that I don't pay any, real estate tax on, and I can live kind of independently of that. That's just such huge opposing opinions. Have you had
hmm
people like talk to you about that, and what do you say to it?
Well, when that conversation comes up, it comes down to what people actually think is valuable. So a lot of those people who say, I have a home, and it's going to appreciate, and I had all this square footage, et cetera, et cetera. My question to them is, okay, is the value of your home, does it come from the square footage? And a lot of people, and it used to be that way, when you'd go out shopping for a home, oh, this house has a den, and it has a little library and a little office, and this, and this. It's really valuable to me because it has all of the space and all of these places I can go. And other people, the folks that you talk to in the tiny house community, will say, oh, this house is valuable to me because, it's tailored to me. Or, this couch that I built unfolds to be a bed and then unfolds to be a desk. And I think the point I'm trying to make is how do you define value, even dollar value, to a home? Is it square footage, or is it something else? Is it something more intrinsic? I think what you'll start to see is people with smaller homes say, I'm investing in this home. It's going to appreciate because it's valuable, not because of size, but because of what it does for me, because it saves me money in the long run, because it's smart, because it's my personal place. So I wouldn't say that a person shouldn't go out and make investments, but just really think about what makes it valuable, right?
Yeah, that's so different thinking than what the way so many people have always been brought up. It's a
Yeah,
whole other thought process. But I think a lot of people are thinking it, and I mean, tiny houses is not new anymore. I think everybody knows and at least sees the fad of it. But now it's really starting to resonate with a lot of people because because of the recession that had happened, and because people really started to look at their life rather than their things. And I think that people are really starting to reevaluate what's important and what is not. So I think there's a lot of people that are having these thoughts in their own mind but don't know where to go with them. And so what would you say, are some action steps that would start that process of thinking of like moving to this new way of thinking? Like how do you begin to process that, and what would be like a first step of where do I will this make me happy? Is this something I want to do?
I think the first step is to evaluate exactly where you are right now. Um, and for me, it would be, okay, well, let me look around and say, when's the last time I used this? When's the last time I used that? And then go through the whole home, pick out those shirts that you don't wear, and then ask yourself, okay, how much of this could I get rid of? And then that starts drawing that picture of the downsizing isn't really this big scary thing. And then from there, you can start asking, well, what's valuable to me in this home? Like, what makes me happy in this place? And it's a lot of people. I don't think I can talk to anyone and say, well, what makes you happy about your home? And they say, well, the spacing between the walls are so far apart. I can hear myself echo. Right? It's not. No one cares about the space. And I think what you'll find is, when you wake up in the morning, the window's in a certain place, it's just right, or um, you, everything in the bathroom's organized in a way where you can just do your morning routine really easily, right? Things like that are what people really start to care about. And I would also do the next thing and say, well, what about your home do you not like? What are those things that really just you don't like about your home? And a lot of people go straight to the bills, right? Well, it costs me $700 a month for my electric bill. Well, write those down. What do I like about my home and what do I not like about my home?
Mm-hmm.
And then think, what can I do to really milk those good things and bring down those bad things? And I think not always, but it's gonna point to a smaller home in a lot of cases. And maybe it's just a smarter home. Maybe you don't have to downsize completely, but maybe a home with a little bit. There's technology out there now that homes aren't using. Better insulation techniques, better ways to place your windows. There's roofing designs that allow you to bring heat in the wintertime and let air flow through your home during the summer. I mean, these are things that people are missing out on. And I think if you sit down and really evaluate what you like about your home and what you don't, you'll find that a tiny house could work and may be way better than what you're in now.
Yeah, I'm so there. This just has nothing. Like I started talking to you about having this show, and then I was like, oh my god, I think I might be one of these almost tiny house people. I didn't realize that I was, but I'm actually moving. I'm moving in 3 weeks to an even smaller place.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and now I'm even looking around this place that is half of what I had before, and I'm like, I don't need that. What do I have that for? Well, I don't want to move that. It's a pain in the butt. And so I'm totally, I'm just being silly there, but now I'm totally starting to think that in that way, like what are the things if there was a fire or whatever that I'd have to have? And I'm like, my dog, my bike, my computer, and everything else is like, why have I got all this stuff, But I am, I said I'm 42. I'm in a generation of people who typically don't think like that. And so even when I say, I'm going to move to this 800 square foot place because I don't need all the space. And they're like, you make good money. Why are you going to go somewhere so small? And what are you doing? And it doesn't make sense to them. They kind of freak
Yeah.
out.
It's like they think a lot of people think that downsizing is such a sacrifice, and that you have if someone does it, it's because they have to, right?
Yeah, like
That
because you're
person's
broke or something. And they're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I'm so sorry. If you need help, I'll help you. You don't have to move to a little house.
yeah, yeah. And people talk to me all the time and say, okay, you do these tiny houses for folks that can't afford big homes. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, let's start from the beginning here. This is not for those kind of people. It's for people who want to be in a small house, period. And realistically, the people who've come to me wanting houses aren't people that are doing it out of necessity. They just want to change up their life. One of our first contacts was a couple from Florida who lived a big life, worked for Fortune 500 companies, and they were like, "This isn't making me happy. What can I do different? Well, let's try the other. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum and see what that feels like." And they wanted to go from, I guess, like a 2,000 square foot home down to 400 squares. And it's not because of necessity. And a lot of times, the folks that have already done that that downsizing movement have, they said, this is it, this is the place to be. This other end of the spectrum is the right end. And over time, one of my favorite people ever, Dee Williams, if you listen to any of her talks, she doesn't talk about, well, she does, but her focus isn't always about the space itself. It's about what has happened in her life since she's downsized. And like you were saying, like the stuff that I have, if I had a house fire, like what would I really care about? I think I'm probably going to misquote her, but her saying is always like, what will really comfort me on my deathbed that I own? What can I hold that I own that's really going to comfort me? And it's nothing you own. It's not going to be, for me, it's not going to be this controller or the microphone I'm using or this computer, even though I use it all day long. It's going to be friends and family. It's going to be thinking about what I did, and it's just, I never would have thought that downsizing would allow a person to kind of experience that. To me, just downsizing in the beginning for me was just like, oh, it's financial, it's perfect, it's great, it's cheap, that's what I want to do. But no, it's so much more. It really is.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's what you hit it completely. Is what I thought of this whole conversation is that you're by downsizing your stuff, you're actually upsizing your life. You're able to experience more because you don't have to waste so much time with all the crap you bought and taking care of it.
Yeah.
And like I just keep thinking about like that. How many years did I spend? How many weekends like raking my backyard? And I still would love to have a big yard even if I have a small house. But the point is, like, taking care of so much stuff and you don't have time. Like, I could go ride my bike with my dog, but I got to fix, 3,000 square feet of a house.
Yeah. I've got to vacuum the spare bedroom that hasn't been used in years. How crazy is that? And then people don't even think about the next part is every day that room gets heated or cooled depending on the season, and they pay for that. That money's just going away, so they have the convenience of having something they may use. And just what could you do if you could take the savings from heating and cooling and take the time, because time is money, and put that together? What could you do? Could you maybe go on a trip? And that's one thing I can tell you about the tiny house community. Everyone I know who lives in a tiny house goes on so many vacations. Ryan Mitchell, a good friend of mine in Charlotte, North Carolina, from the tinylife.com, I think he's been to 21 countries. It's just insane. And every time I check, Melissa Tack, she's in the Washington State area. She has her own tiny house. If you go to her Instagram, every week she's out venturing, climbing a mountain, at a waterfall, doing something awesome. And it's because she's found a way to take that time and money that she would have put into that spare bedroom or the spare office or library or whatever you have, and she found a way to put it into something so much better,
Dude, that's so cool. It's like you don't have to hire somebody to come over and watch your house. And
No.
That's wild.
The really crazy thing about all this is we think that we need this stuff. We think we need this space. But chances are the space and the stuff that you have you don't use. And if you go to any other country, someone asked me once, has the tiny house thing really caught up in the other countries? And before I can answer it, someone was like, dude, tiny houses have been a thing since the beginning in every other country. Everyone already lives that way. Everyone else if you go to any country, houses are a little bit smaller. In a lot of countries, they're really small, and people they're fine with that. So it's not like we're inventing this new idea. It's just been there the whole time, and we've just kind of been ignoring it, right?
Absolutely. And so that's another action step that we can take out of this is, first reevaluate what stuff you really need and what you could get rid of, and if you're cool with that, you're on your way. And then what did you just say a few minutes ago about deciding, so looking at how much money you would save without heating that house, and maybe even thinking of a plan of like, here's how much money I could have, and here's all these things that I want to do with this money, and if that looks huge, if that looks bigger to you than staying there and paying those, then you're like, okay, here's the other check mark of maybe I want to move in the direction of downsizing.
Yeah. If you can, there's so much data online. I'm guarantee if you Google what's the average cost to heat and cool a home per square foot, and you go into that room that you have that you never use, and you measure it out, and you add that up, and you add up time. Maybe you've been in your home for 5 years, maybe you've been in your home for a year, whatever it is. See how much you spend on that room, and okay, $200. What could you buy for $200? Or if it's $4,000, whatever it is, find out what that amount is, and figure out what you would have spent it on otherwise. And if you want to do that next round, maybe it's time to start thinking about downsizing.
That's so cool.
It could have went to Japan. You could have went to Italy. You could have bought that old car you always wanted to work on, whatever it may be, right? You're putting money into something that you may use one day, but you could have these experiences instead, right?
Awesome. So we only have about 5 minutes left, and so I want to do two things. First, I have a silly question that I want to ask you about tiny homes, and then second, after that, I want you to be able to give information about how people can contact you and what your business is about and all of that. So first, I will ask you. Okay, I watched the documentary on Netflix about tiny houses just the other day, and I was all cool with all of it, and I was like, "This is awesome! I want to do this." And then they showed the bathroom. And this one house, it had like a bucket, and then you put like some kind of peat moss in there or something going on, and then I was like, nope, that's not okay. So is that like what's going on with all of them, or is that just their extreme deal?
No,
It scared the crap out of me, literally.
Literally, right?
Yes, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, so what you're seeing is sort of the tiny house norm. What started was a man named Jay Schaefer, and it's been happening before that, but he was the one that really brought it on to the big screen here, was these little cabins on wheels. And because it's on wheels, he had to come up with a way to do his bathroom stuff, and he used a composting toilet. People saw that model and said, that's what I want, and then everyone started to build their own. Kind of just exploded. In a lot of cases, if you look online, almost all of those little houses on wheels rooted from one of his designs. So, yes, a lot of people have composting toilets, and a lot of people are completely happy with it. They say, why do I need to have all this water stuff just so I could use a composting toilet? They don't stink. Basically, it's a sawdust system in some cases. In cases, it's other stuff, and it goes away. It's out of the way. You do have to do some maintenance and stuff, but yeah. So not all tiny houses are stuck with that. And for us, with Project Wosho, we wanted to introduce this tiny house lifestyle without all those little scary pieces. And that was one of those that we were like, oh God, people will run away from something good because of a composting toilet. So there's other companies out there that do have normal plumbing. We're one of them. So yeah, it's some of them are on the extreme level and do that. In a lot of cases, it's not that bad. So
yeah, and I'm sure that's okay. It was just for me, like I've been camping my whole life. I'm cool with all that, but I don't know if I could do it every day. So that's a good segue into your business that you.
I salute the ones that do it. I'm happy for them. I'm glad they found something that works. But for me, I like my water. I like my normal toilet, so.
Awesome. We'll leave it at that.
I like my running water, just in general.
Yeah. So, with that said, let us know how can everyone get in contact with you and what's your business and your
Cool.
regular toilet tiny houses.
Great, yeah. So if you want to see more about what I'm talking about, head to projectwosho.com. Wosho is spelled Wosho. If you can't remember that, you can Google my name. You can find my website through Googling my name. But also follow us on Twitter. Project Wosho is the Twitter, no spaces, no underscore, anything like that. And then my personal Twitter is Hi, I'm Zack Jones with two I's. HIIM, Zack Jones. The Zack has a K. And my email is Zack, CACK, at Project Wosho. If you liked what we talked about, want to talk more about anything, even if it could be anything. I like to talk to the people who listen to what's going on, and so let's talk. Email me, sign up for the newsletter. It's on the website. Whatever you want to do, let's chat, right?
Awesome. Thanks, Zach.
Perfect.
And we'll,
Thank
we'll
you so
have
much.
this. Oh, this is great. I've been wanting to talk to you, and it's just so cool to get my own personal questions in. So
Awesome. This
we
was
can.
fun
So
too.
this is after this is live. This will be on our What If 360 YouTube channel, and you can continue the conversation with hashtag What If Wednesday, and connect with Zach through What If 360, our Facebook. We have our Facebook group. It's open group. Everybody talks there. There's just lots of ways to connect with What If 360 as well as Zach. And so thank everybody who watched live. And if you liked it, share it out and share about Zach and tiny houses. And we will be back next week with another show. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.